All right, so I think we'll get into it, guys. Let's all right, so had a bunch of news hit this morning from Nikita, the man himself, talked in Reddit. We also got this message from Fence for those of you that haven't looked. So listen up. I'm telling you this because we get along. The first places, or I'm sorry, the past places with all the stuff are no more relevant. My people moved it, stashed almost all the valuables. So keep in mind, look for it elsewhere on the locations. And we've seen a bunch of dust up on Twitter, a bunch of other stuff, people talking about, like Red Room being empty and green and stuff in labs, other loot places being nuked. And that was last night. And there was a bunch of chitter chatter and everybody freaking out over it. And then we got this. And this is from Train Fender on Reddit. Train Fender is Nikita. This is the man. And what he did is he posted a roadmap for the next 4 months. It says, "Hello everybody. It's been a long time without a status report, and it is not meant that we do nothing. On the contrary, we are so immersed in colossal volumes of work that we do not have time to exhale. Here's a status report of what's going on and what we're focused on now. Patch 12.11.5 is an intermediate patch. It's fixes and optimizations. Not much else to talk about there. Patch 12.11.6 is a Unity 2019 migration and DLSS support. This is going to be like 2 steps back and 500 steps forward. And what I mean by that is because of what Tarkov is, I think, when they go to Unity 2019, I think we are going to have shit broken left and right. And maybe we won't. Hopefully we won't, but I think we're going to. I think changing the engine is going to break a lot of stuff, unintended. It's just how it's going to work. So we're all going to need to be patient with that. And I could be completely wrong. But I think we're going to have some issues with 19, but it's going to be something we're going to have to get through because in the long run, it's going to be way better. Nikita's talked about it in the past about how much that is going to help out their workflow, and how good that stuff is there. Let's see. Lighthouse location. That is going to be added in 12.12, along with daily quests, which down below Nikita mentions that these are going to be dynamic, which means each person's essentially going to kind of have their own. So it's not like go kill 5 scavs, in factory, and you have everybody in factory trying to do this and people griefing it and stuff. The daily tasks are going to be kind of dynamic, and you're going to be able to, if you do dynamic, then everybody's tasks are different, right? And that dynamic word's going to come up again here in a sec. Inertia, which has to be tested on the ETS server. VoIP, which has to be tested on the ETS server. And the next weapon malfunction iterations and new weapons and other stuffs. And on top of this malfunctions, there was an update yesterday or last night, however you want to look at it, kind of depends what time zone you're in, that they halved all of the ammo chances. They halved the chances on all of the ammo for a misfire. So math playing out like math does, you should literally see half as many malfunctions right now with the current system as you were before. But that is only until we see the new malfunctions added. And then there's going to be more malfunctions to worry about, and we'll have to see what that brings. Then you got patch 12.12.5, which is quality of life improvements and additions. And then there's going to be other intermediate patches and hot fixes, visual improvements, things like that. We'll have to wait and see what those are. There's a big overhaul to the anti-cheat system, it looks like. It's going to speed up how fast they can ban hackers, which is huge. The hacker conversation is blowed up all over. Everybody's talking about it now. It's like the hot thing for streamers to do videos on, and YouTubers and whatnot. But it looks like they're making progress to get rid of them as fast as possible, which means they can't affect people as much as they were before. We'll just have to wait and see. What comes out of that. And then they've got events and podcasts and other activities. I'm looking forward to the next podcast. I can't wait for that. And that's over the next 4 months, guys. So, that's September, October, November, December. That's till the end of the year. And in the past, BSG has always had these really big pushes up until December to get a bunch of stuff done. Then they take a little bit of time off and kind of restart. So in the comments down here, we'll go find where he talks about it. Here we go. So this has to do with the fence message, right? So Fence sent our message out talking about dynamic loot, and what Nikita said is current loot event is more like a series of events aimed at establishing full dynamic loot. So what does dynamic loot mean? I don't know. I don't know for sure. I can base it off of what I've heard Nikita say over the last couple of months. I can base it off of my own inference of what BSG's done in the past, but that's about as much as I can do. And what they want it to do is they want loot to be spread out so that you don't have people rush to a spot, get loot, and leave, right? They have to actually look for it. It feels more organic, and it might be even reactive. Like if a bunch of people are looting one location, the loot stops spawning there and spawns somewhere else to make people go to different locations. And this has caused a pretty big dust up in the community because people looting labs can't find loot in any of the rooms. The rooms are empty, right? There's nothing good in any of the rooms. And this is just phase one, apparently, of many to go. Now, Nikita, somebody posted something down here, and Nikita basically said incorrect. I don't see it here. Long story short, somebody said that they nerfed the loot, and Nikita said no. The loot just doesn't spawn in the same place now. It spawns in different locations. That's how I read it. Yet to be seen. We'll have to see what where this loot's going to turn up, and I think we're going to have people show that. You'll probably see it over the next couple of days where people are finding loot kind of all over the place. So I think it's going to be real interesting for that. And that is that right there, that dynamic loot event, if you want to call it that, or this transition or that patch. That is where we are headed to right now. So it's going to have a huge effect on loot. So just keep that in mind, guys. That's where we're at. There's a little bit of drama going on Twitter, but that's not important. It doesn't matter. Data miners and people knowing information and whatnot. And I would say just don't pay too much attention to it. Let people do their thing. Some people like data mining, some people don't. Let them do their thing. Don't if it doesn't, they're not hurting you, don't just ignore them. So next up, we will get into talking about the economy a little bit. So right now in Tarkov, in the economy, ES lamps. I haven't been able to put my finger on this yet, but these things have been fantastic loot for you guys to pick up, so I want to point them out. I sold a whole pile of these last night for 30K. No idea why. No idea who's buying them for 30K or why they're buying them. But I sold like 9 of them last night for 30,000. If you get these out of raid and you sit on them, you can sell them for 13, 14, 15,000 all day long. You can see in here, people have got them listed all the way up to 18, 19. I'm not sure what's driving it. Nearest thing I could think of is the Tri-Zip barter. There are some other barters out there, but really that's it. I mean, you use them in your hideout, but is there really that many people buying them for their hideout? Who knows? Point is, great little loot item to keep on. Talking about sugar. So this is kind of like its own little economy, right? Sugar kind of does its own thing. Why is sugar not showing up? There we go. Sugar. So it kind of does its own thing, right? And if we look at the long term here, pretty steady climb, and it's still doing it. There isn't a plateau yet, though we could be at the start of it. I think we're going to see 75, 80, maybe even 85,000 sugar as a steady and not just a spike. Sugar's been hitting over 70 pretty regularly here to sell in the last week, and we'll just have to see what the weekend brings. So that's on sugar, and sugar leads to the moonshine as well. So the moonshine's kind of important to talk about because sugar drives the price of pile of meds. It drives the price of everything in the nutrition unit. The sugar by itself spreads out all over the place through the hideout and through what you can buy. So that's why it's so important. It's kind of a bellwether for the economy, if you will, where the money's at. So as soon as you start seeing sugar get expensive, that's when you know people are starting to get money in the game and money's really changing hands, things like that. And with that, you see the rise in moonshine. You know, moonshine tracks right with sugar. We've seen about the lows we're going to see super waters get, you know, that 75 to 80K range, which means that wherever sugar's at, that is going to drive moonshine. So if you're making moonshine and you want to make money with it, you need to barter for your sugars and hang on to them. So if you, for example, if you crafted moonshines from the 28th to the let's say the 31st, you're running about 200 to 210K in cost. So if you sit on them and sell them right now, you're selling them for 225, 230. I just sold a bunch last night for 225. So that's kind of the strategy with moonshine is you want to sit on it for about a week, sell it at the peak, And the troughs usually happen on the weekends for whatever reason. What do we got here? We got the 29th and the 24th, right? Those are 29th and 24th. So Friday and Wednesday. Those are your kind of troughs you've seen there. Once a week, you'll see them get cheap, and then they come back up. And we'll just have to see where moonshine goes. You know, one thing I didn't expect was Intel. I did not expect this with Intel, and I'm not sure why it's doing it, to be honest with you. I don't know if it just got more rare or what drove this price spike, but we're seeing Intel way through the roof. It was way worth it at 260, obviously, but now it's way expensive, and this kind of drives some of the crafts in the Intel unit, things like that. A couple other things to mention that I want you guys to keep. Chlorine. It's kind of an off and on keep. You can usually sell it for over 20k. So if you're one of those 10k a slot guys, there you go. I've seen it hit 24, 25, 26k. Just kind of one of those things you want to hang on to. You can see how it goes all over the place. So sometimes you got to hang on to longer than another. And then 34 millimeter. Anything that says 34 millimeter is worth keeping. And we're just going to go look at one of them. And you can see here, this thing sells from anywhere from 70 to 180,000 rubles. So any 34 millimeter scope ring, there's 3 of them. Any of those, you want to keep all 3 of those things. They're just worth a fucking small fortune. All right, so crafting. The next thing we'll talk about is crafting. The magnets right now are making a fortune. People are snatching these up left and right. I think they're using them for the defib craft, but I'm not totally sure. There's a couple of barters for them as well, but nothing that I can justify to say to drive the price up. So I don't know why it's up, but magnets are way up, and it's a great craft. It makes quite a bit of profit, especially if you can get your hard drives for under 9k or under 10k. But we were seeing these things push 37, 38,000, and hopefully they stay up. Just have to keep an eye on it. Again, some of this, guys, might have to do with these changes with the dynamic loot that is supposedly coming. The other one I want to show you guys that I think a lot of people kind of sleep on, because it's a little bit more work, is in the laboratory, and it's to do with scav vests. So scav vests, there's a barter for a scav vest from Jaeger for 1 Slickers bar. It's level 1 Jaeger. You have no reason, either this thing should be unlocked for everybody. You can get Slickers for 8,000, often less, so you barter for 3 scav vests. It gives you 2 rip stops, and it makes decent money, and it's a really easy craft to do. The components are cheap. You don't have to think a lot about it. You don't even have to depend on markets that much, because Slickers are usually so cheap. You can even craft the Slickers and save yourself even more money. You know, you don't necessarily make money with the Slickers craft, but what you do is prevent yourself from losing money. And the second craft I'm doing, because I'm alternating crafts right now to level up hideout skill, is these bags. The tea bags into a Cordura. Now this one doesn't make you a lot of money. You guys can see here, you're getting the bags for 2,000, 8,000. You're selling your Cordura for 14, 15, maybe 16. So you're only making about 5,000 or 6,000 profit each time you do this craft. But it's easy. It's super easy. It's less grindy. There's less to think about. There's less components to manage. There's less shit to sell. I really like this craft, and that's what I'm doing it for. So I wanted to bring that up for you guys. And the reason these crafts are getting good is ripstop's getting expensive. And if you look, ripstop is used in a ton of barters. Primarily one of my favorite, we talked about it in the barter video I just released, but the ACPC barter, as well as some of the lower end barters, you need it for the craft for the BlackRock and the craft for the backpack. So there's quite a lot of demand for ripstop. So we're going to continually see this tick up and tick up and tick up and tick up, and shit's going to be more expensive. So great little craft, never gets very expensive. Just make sure you're not buying your scav vests for, you know what, let's go look and see what scav vests are selling more for right now, because it's not going to be cheap. Way more than a Slickers bar. Yeah, see, 20k, 22k. I loot these things all the time and sell them because they're worth so much. But everybody who's buying these doesn't go into Jaeger for whatever reason. They won't go into Jaeger on level 1 and get 1 Slickers for a scav vest. In fact, we'll just do 3 of them right there, because as soon as that craft's done, I'm going to make more here in 2 minutes and 47 seconds. So that pretty much wraps it up, guys. If you guys can make it over to Twitch, we're going to do this every day on alert. I'll launch a stream. We'll give it 5-10 minutes before we get rolling. You can partake. We can chat a little bit after and do more of this. Thanks to the Patreons, as always, huge supporters of the channel. Wouldn't be here without those guys. So I would be here without those guys, but I'm further ahead because of all the folks over at Patreon, and they actually get access to videos before everybody else. So keep that in mind if you want to support the channel that way. But otherwise, I think we'll wrap it up there, and thanks for watching.